Happy Thursday, everybody. We are almost to the end of January. So just wanted to give a little update on the astrology as we head into February, and also a little update on my astrology seminar for this Saturday. So firstly, we've had Neptune in Aries now for 3 days. I hope everybody is already feeling the vibe shift, right? Because I've tried to explain Neptune before. Like, I like to create kind of a character for the planet. So we really like understand the vibes, right? Of, how these transits work. And with Neptune, think of Neptune as an influencer, okay? Like your modern day influencer. She is able to influence the collective consciousness on a mass scale, right? This is why she's a generational planet. Before the discovery of Pluto, right, which didn't come about till 1930, Neptune was the outermost planet. So she has a huge influence on the consciousness itself. And so when she transits a particular sign, she influences the collective in terms of, what we're focused on, right? Cultural shifts, societal shifts have a lot to do with Neptune. She is the vibe, she's the moment. She influences things like music, art, fashion, and just the general culture, right? So for example, when Neptune was in Pisces, and I've talked all about kind of the goods and the bads of that, I think the Neptune and Pisces era was so unique, simply because Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. And so when you have, especially an outer planet, right? Because the inner planets transit quite often. But when you get an outer planet, and I would even say Saturn would group in with this, because Saturn is like a 3-year cycle. When those planets transit the sign that they rule, it's like an explosion of that particular energy, right? And in astrology, we always do, like to say that when a planet is transiting through the sign it rules, or a sign that it exalts in, which means it's not the ruling sign, but it does exceptionally well there, that is a beneficial transit. I mean, that's just the way we've always kind of looked at astrology, but when we look at the trends of things, it also becomes clear that when you have a planet, right, that's transiting in its rulership sign, because it's so strong there, it's so powerful that sometimes too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing, right? And I can look through all the arenas in which that is the case, right? Like in the somewhere in the late 90s, I think it was, maybe early 2000s, I can't remember, when we had, I think it was the late 90s, when we had Uranus transiting Aquarius. That's its ruling sign. Things got exceptionally weird during that sign. We were very progressive. We were really into technology. That was a technology boom. And now we're looking at technology saying, is too much of a good thing a bad thing, right? When Pluto was transiting Scorpio, right? So that's the millennial generation, 1984 to 1995-ish. Pluto was so powerful. We had huge transformations as a collective in terms of conversations around things like abuse, mental health, sexual wellness. That was during the AIDS epidemic. But you see what I'm saying? There's so much good that comes from it, but with that, it's almost too much. And that's how I felt about Neptune and Pisces. It was such a time where Neptune was really influencing the collective to get in touch with spirit, with source, to kind of wake up from the dream, right? And remember that we're here for a cosmic purpose, to remember that we're here for something much greater than ourselves, right? To engage with the energetic world, right? And that kind of brought us out of this very practical, mundane, 3D focused life. And we started to understand things like energy and spirituality and the fact that everything around us is connected. Everything's alive, right? But too much of a good thing did also become a bad thing. And I think that this Neptune and Aries era is such a big shift, because for the first time in a very long time, we are being called to not to disconnect from the spiritual world at all, but to bring it back down to the human experience. And one of the themes that I've been noticing that is coming up as Neptune is shifted, and of course we'll talk about Saturn's entrance into Aries in 2 weeks, is the concept of avoidance. The Neptune and Pisces era was all about avoidance. And the reason is because when we are so focused on others, right? Because Pisces is the whole. So we're looking at the whole in terms of the entire collective, the earth, the galactics, the cosmos. Like, we understood that we are part of this vast story, right? And so a huge theme of that era was also to be in service, right? To help others. There was this huge feeling of empathy and compassion, and kind of, we wanted to heal the world, right? Everyone wanted to heal others, help others. This also became very self-sacrificing. But also because Pisces and Neptune are very kind of dreamy and ethereal, and you're kind of stuck in the daydreaming, the imagination, the vision, but you're not really seeing what's right in front of you, right? You really can't see the forest from the fucking trees at that point. And so what's happened is that everyone has been so sucked in to avoidance of themselves. We've become filled with distractions, right? This is one of the reasons why also the amount of programming and brainwashing and MK Ultra, etc., has heightened during Neptune and Pisces. It was like they knew they could easily grab the collective consciousness and drag us into distraction. We're like goldfish, right? We have like a short attention span, and we're all just being like told what we need to focus on and what we need to feel. And so the avoidance factor has been so great. And this has even affected the light worker community. Like, when our focus is so much on, what's going on cosmically, what are the galactics doing, channelings from, Pleiadians and Andromedans, all that is beautiful. It helped us get through this tumultuous, crazed time. But at the same time, it is a distraction as well, which Neptune and Aries is now shattering those distractions and saying everyone needs to focus on themselves. What are you doing? What are you being and embodying? What is your purpose? So all of a sudden, it's going to feel a little bit weird, especially for first wavers, especially for those who have dedicated their lives in service of the greater good, in service of the whole, in service to others, in service to the divine plan. It's not about other people anymore. This rescue mission that everyone's been on is coming to an end, because Neptune and Aries is like, you have to save yourself. There is nothing outside of self that is more important. Because if each of us cannot embody and fulfill our purpose and our mission, then it doesn't matter how many people we help if we ourselves are not being helped, right? So it's going to kind of shatter this illusion of distractions and externalization and avoidances, right? I think also we've avoided dealing with, Aries just gets right to the point. Aries is like, Pisces is like, well, it could be this and it could be that, and let's look at all the different perspective. And Aries is like, let's just get to the fucking point here. This is the point. And so all of us, this is, we're all going to feel it of like, where have we just been missing the point? Where have we just been kind of avoiding dealing with the real issues or the real things, which is always going to come back to self. So for first wavers, again, you might feel all of a sudden like it's selfish to focus solely on yourself, or it just feels selfish or arrogant to focus on yourself, to have the level of self-confidence and empowerment and autonomy that a God self does, but it's not. The era of kind of trying to humble ourselves into non-existence is over. The era of self-sacrificing and martyrdom being some sort of badge of honor is also done. And so this is the new Aries era, and it's really going to come through in terms of the collective consciousness. We're all feeling it, we're all seeing it. Now this week has also been very interesting because we have this giant stellium in Aquarius right now. So we've got the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Pluto. Now, Pluto and Mars have been in a conjunction for the past couple of days, 4 or 5 days. Now, Mars is going to slowly start moving off this conjunction today and moving ahead. And this is where it's been very intense. Anytime Mars and Pluto meet up in a conjunction, especially an exact conjunction, these are the two planets of very intense energy, okay? Mars is intense. Pluto is even more intense. So when these two meet up, there can often be explosive behavior. There can be outbursts, breakdowns. There can also be a lot, depending on the sign it's transiting, right? There could be more violence, more conflicts ensuing. And with this all happening in Aquarius, obviously we're all seeing it. It's a real moment of the power of the people rising and what we're going to choose to do with that, right? That it is about the people. It's about humanity. It's not about like this fake dream that they've sold us, right? That it's about money and success and how you appear to others and your status in life, these and following these rules and systems. It's about people. It's about a sense of humanity. So this has definitely been really firing up the collective to kind of really just want to rebel and really go against all these systems of control. So it has been a bit of an intense week with all of this happening at once. And this is going to kind of culminate here on the full moon, which is on Sunday. So that's going to be a full moon in Leo at 13 degrees. And this is an important moon because it's actually kicking off the energy of February. February being the main event of the year. It is the month of activation. And because the full moon will be in Leo, it's going to be opposing all of these Aquarius planets. And these will be the themes. This is again, February is the activation. It's giving us the glimpse of what is coming for the rest of the year. And we will have the North Node enter Aquarius at the end of July. At the same time, so the North Node will be in Aquarius and the South Node will be in Leo. Starting at the end of July, we'll call it August. Okay. At the same time, Pluto will be in Aquarius over there with the North Node, and Jupiter is going to be in Leo with the South Node. So there is going to be a massive focus on these Aquarius Leo themes. And we're going to get the first inkling of that in February, which kicks off with this full moon in Leo. And then again with the solar eclipse in Aquarius happening on February 17th, which is the Chinese New Year and the fire horse. And so the themes of Aquarius and Leo are all about individualism, individuality, authenticity, and how that connects us to others, right? It's about finding your tribe. It's about where you fit in. It's also about this kind of global level of tolerance to allow everyone to be who they are. And that is real community. Community is not tribalism. I'll talk a lot more about this as we go through the year, especially, discussing the 2027 incarnation cross change. But I think when we think community, our minds take us back to the past, which is the only thing we've known when we really had what we would call community in the world was actually tribalism. And that is not the Aquarian way. The new type of community is interdependence. So everyone is an autonomous, sovereign, authentic individual self who comes together with other autonomous individual selves. So there's an interdependence rather than tribalism, which is codependence, right? It's the tribe above all else, survivalism. And so these are the themes that are going to start emerging, and we're really going to feel it under this full moon in Leo. The full moon Leo is kind of standing alone in opposition to this parade of Aquarius placements. But the full moon in Leo is loud. And so with all these Aquarius placements, which again are very much about the people, humanity, community, equality, things that matter to us on kind of a soul morality level, if you will. And then the full moon in Leo is opposite all of that, being very loud by also saying, don't lose yourself in the process. You have to also remember who you are, your uniqueness that cannot be replicated, and you need to let yourself shine as well. Don't get lost in the group of it all. We're all special. We're all unique. We all have something to share. And so that's going to be the first kind of energy starting to come in about with the rest of the themes in February. So this is a really interesting week. And this is why I'm going to be doing the special astrology seminar on Saturday. So for those of you who are joining me, if you do want to sign up, it is on the website, and I will be sending out an email just letting everyone know, because I am going to talk extensively about February. We're going to go through all the areas of the chart in which this Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries will be happening. So for everyone to know which house that's going to occur in, so we can talk about that. And also because the Chinese New Year is going to kick off in February, being the fire horse, I'm going to also let everyone know to be aware of what your Chinese zodiac sign is. That will be important in terms of how you navigate the year. Because yes, the horse energy will be dominant, the fire energy will be dominant, but let's say you're like a wood dog, right? You're going to have to navigate this energy very differently, being a wood dog, than you would if, let's say, you are a horse, right? We're going to experience kind of a different way of integrating this year. This is also a universal 1 year. So I'd like everybody in the class to know what your life path number is. Again, I'll send an email out with all of this. But that's important to note. What is your life path number and what is going to be your numerology year number? Again, if you're a 1, you're going to be super aligned to the 1 energy this year. If you're a 6 life path, again, you're going to have to navigate the 1 energy a little bit differently because everybody's blueprint is unique. So I'll be sending an email out about that, but that is what we're going to be covering in this particular class. So we're going to do everything from astrology to numerology so that everybody has a really clear picture of kind of what their vibe is of the year and what, the higher selves are really asking for each person to bring through individually and uniquely. So love you guys. Have a great weekend. Happy full moon in Leo. And I'll be back next week with some more February updates.